Antoinette.
Hi, Louise. Good evening.
And hi to everybody watching. Just move my chair. Right. So tonight, well, it's morning in some places. Tonight we made it much more ceremoniously than I did on Sunday, because on Sunday StreamYard locked me out, and I had to get a login code, and then it took forever. Like the internet was running on batteries, and so I made it. Facebook, what most people don't know is that Facebook locks you out if you don't get on within 9 minutes, and then you have to redo the whole thing from scratch. It takes about half an hour to set it up all again. And so I made it out with 1 second to spare. I was all flustered for putting the wrong covers on, but
And I
you
thought
know
I
what?
was late tonight.
No, you were plenty early. And yeah, you know what? In the end, the story is about perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. And it's much more important to show up and just do your best. And, if you do that, then somebody's going to benefit from what you've got to say. I'm very sure about that. Okay, so Antoinette, you want to talk about self-care and lack of balance, more or less. Is that what you're talking? Black and white thinking when it gets to self-care. You want to give us a bit of background?
Well, it stemmed from a conversation actually that you and I had. And I'm wondering if there isn't a fine balance, because I made a decision now that I have to stop drinking alcohol in order to self-care. Okay, but I cannot touch alcohol. And I think you said to me that's very black and white thinking, and that is that self-care? Is that not an adult child reaction? This absolutism, because absolutism and extremism and black and white thinking was very much part of my past and
Yeah.
still can be. But then I felt that there is a thin line, maybe, because if alcohol makes me feel, if it lowers my vibration, it makes me feel sick the next day, and I'm not showing up to live a full life, then it's just a self-discipline thing. Is it really an absolute? If I could just have one glass of wine, twice a week, it would be amazing. But I have yet to find that balance. So until I find that balance of just having one glass, surely it's better for me to have none. So it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, but there's actually about 3 conversations here. So let's get the first one out of the way, which is alcohol. Because alcohol is the one for which we actually sometimes are going to need absolutism, because and we're talking addiction, or we talk about some people just don't have any resistance to alcohol. Some people will have a sip or 2 or a half glasses, or 2 glasses, and be fine done. And some people don't. And you've got to decide for yourself which one you are. And I mean, I'm happy to
Louise, you're freezing. You're frozen right now.
disappear for a second.
You disappeared for quite a few seconds there. Are you back?
I am back, and it may happen again because our internet has been really dodgy on the side. So I hope it doesn't happen again. Otherwise, I must just talk faster. It's taken me such a long time to.
You're frozen again. Louise, I'm going to talk. I don't know if you're talking, but you look frozen and I'm talking. But yeah, okay. So your point about addiction is maybe there has to be an absolute line in the ground. I think that's what you're saying. Are you going to come back, or what are we doing here? Okay, Louise, you are completely frozen and we cannot hear you. So Yeah, I've spent a lot of my life pendulum swinging between extremely healthy eating and then unhealthy eating. Yeah, okay, Louise is gone. So I'm not going to sit here and rabbit on all night. I don't know if she's going to reschedule this. But it's a very interesting topic. To self-care, I know a lot of people, and myself included, I have improved where we're going one way or the other. We're like getting stuck into the bread and the chocolates and everything, or we're like raw food, almost vegans. And that very black and white thinking Louise was reflecting to me can be an adult child syndrome thing, that we feel like we have to be in control, really in control of everything because we had no control maybe as children. Or we punish our bodies quite harshly through a lot of exercise or very strict dieting and feel maybe really guilty if we have a piece of cake now and again. It's really, that is the truth, this over controlling, over self punishing, black and white thinking. I have recognized in myself is through the coaching I've had with Louise mainly, that it is a coping mechanism. So I have far more balance than I've ever had, although I still can go to these extremes. And as soon as I start finding myself overeating the bread or the chocolates or whatever, and then I tend to get very strict with myself again and pendulum swing the other ways. May balance come. I'm far more balanced than I used to be, but at this extreme absolutism, I recognized was one of the triggers for my cancer. Actually, I was extremely absolute about everything, and I was quite strict about food. Actually, before cancer, I was very 80-20, no meat, wheat, dairy, sugar. Used to exercise a lot, meditate a lot, do all the right things, and I still got sick because I was too hard on myself. I was really brutal on myself, in the name of health. And when I got sick, I realized actually that brutality and control and my absolutism was part of the reason I got ill, actually. And when I went to a kinesiologist to say, I've got cancer, I need to go fast, do Gerson or something in Mexico, and my body said, no, please, you need to eat more cake, actually, and it's okay to have a coffee. The issue was my guilt and my beating up on myself when I went into that coffee shop. And of course, because I didn't allow myself to freely eat coffee, drink coffee and eat cake, I used to have 2 coffees and a huge piece of cake and internally feel very uncomfortable about it. So my body called for joy, actually, more joy. And Anita Majani says, if your joy lies in a piece of cake, then, or your meditation, even some people's meditation lies in a coffee. I now go to the cliffs every morning or the beach with my little flask of coffee, and it's the most sacred time of my day. Yeah, so I think I'm definitely not Louise the coach, but I'm sure Louise is going to reflect back her reflections. So I'm really glad she said it's okay for me to not drink alcohol because it wasn't good for me. And I was stubbornly kidding myself that I could drink it because I wanted to be in balance. I didn't want to completely give it up. But it kept on coming back and biting me in the bum. I'd have the balance for a while, and then suddenly, even if it was only every 6 months, I'd find myself having 3/4 of a bottle. Yeah, and of course it was a trick because I don't really need that alcohol to do what I thought it was doing, to relax me, etc., etc. Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting topic, this, but I think Louise has disappeared. So I think we're probably going to, reschedule this. I don't even know if I'm even, I can't end the show, so I don't quite know what I'm going to do right now. Louise, you better come back. Sorry, guys. Okay, I am going to WhatsApp Louise. Maybe I can't even see any comments because I'm not running the show. Okay, I'm just going to leave the studio, I think, because Louise is not there.
Okay, I don't know what's happened to Antoinette. But anybody here that can tell me what's going on? If there's anybody that's still watching, and my internet just come back, so I don't know if Antoinette also disappeared together with me. And yeah, sorry about that, guys. Don't particularly want to carry on without Antoinette, so give me a sec. And this was the week of disasters. Let's just try and get Antoinette quickly on. So if there's anybody still watching, I'm really sorry about this. And we will probably have to reschedule and do this another time. So let's get back on internet here. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So we were talking about absolutism and self-care and getting a balance, and we got stuck on alcohol. So we didn't get very far with that. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is, let me check if I can find her. I am back in. Right, let's see if Antoinette comes. If Antoinette shows up, then all good. And if Antoinette doesn't show up, then I will just continue talking for a few minutes, but I am going to hope. Come back, Antoinette. Here we go. Let me see if I can convince her to come back. Thanks for letting me know, Stephen. Right. So we got stuck on the alcohol thing, and so I think I just want to talk a little bit more about that, because alcohol is the exception. In fact, any addiction to anything under the sun is the exception. We want to go cold turkey on addiction because we've got neural pathways that we have to break. Also, it's not just about the neural pathways, because we've got many different kinds of addiction. It's also about the habits. Even if you think about smoking or something like that, there are habits involved. So you want to, when it is any kind of addiction. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so that part of keep on talking, and maybe you want to do a dance or two, a handstand, all of that. I'm coming back in. Yes. Entertain the crowds. Okay, so I'm talking about alcohol, and I'm saying that when any kind of addiction is involved, that is when we want to go cold turkey, absolutism, take a good long break. And for many addictions, and for some people, you can never go back to those things again. So that's alcohol, but that's not. I mean, I think what worried me in our conversation was that absolute, I have to, that, because I know that is where you've been coming from. Like you said, that is, you had cancer, you were recovering, and you were doing all the self-work, and very rightly so, one of the things that we worked with was just this absolute, it has to be this way, it can't be another way. But we do make the exception with alcohol, that if you are one of those people who are either it is an addiction, or otherwise it is something where you don't stop in time, and it's just not good for you. But what I can say, like with gluten, I can't have gluten, full stop. I can be absolute about it, because I know that there's no migraine worth that slice of cake at all. So it is something that I had to figure out for myself. It just doesn't work. I've tried, and I know for absolutely sure that gluten doesn't work for me. But at the same time, I went to an amazing kinesiologist in Hilton, and her whole outlook about it is very different. It is, you are part of a loving system. You are part of a system where you want to be kind to yourself, where you don't want to exclude anything absolutely. So her view is that we want to get the body back to a place where it can have anything it wants in moderation so that it's not good for you. So I would love that to be the way I can eat, but I can't. I've tried many times, but I just can't eat gluten. But I would love, and I'm living in hope that these absolute rules that I have to have around what I can eat, and there's a long list. There's no eating out on my horizon because I can't have iodine, and there's iodine in all our salt. For people who don't live in this country, our government chucks iodine in all our salt. So I just can't eat out. And it's hard to live with those kind of restrictive rules. And that's why I understand where she's coming from. You don't want to live with restriction, you want to live with choice. But sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes we have to. And even in those times, I wanted to sound rather like this. I have decided that for the time being, until I can figure out something else, I cannot have gluten. It's just not good for me. So I'm making a choice to stay away from it. And so that's that fine line you're talking about. It's just the attitude, I think, with which you talk about it.
Yeah, maybe because I haven't been. I thought I was self-caring in my past because I was a vegetarian and I exercised and I did yoga and I meditated. But actually, I wasn't self-caring. Really, I was quite brutal towards myself in many ways. And I think that's why sometimes I get a little bit absolute about self-care. But of course, it's just absolutism, but on the right side, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose maybe I can see how brutal, it's amazing how brutal I was on myself in terms of self-care, but I disguised it as all the good things, you know. I was working too hard, I was stressing too much, my mind was too hectic. And yes, I did eat well most of the time, but it was such a drama in my life when I didn't eat well, and I always had an alcohol addiction. I was just a very, very functional alcoholic. So I know, Louise, as you do, that these addictions really truly are a coping mechanism and they're not a healthy one. Hey, at least when we overwork or those kind of things, then they're not quite as dangerous.
No. I overworked. I can tell you they are just as dangerous. They look beautiful. They look responsible. There is no self-care when you don't have balance. That's it. If you are not in balance, you are not caring for yourself in the correct way. So, and you can do things like working too hard and it looks so responsible, and you're so hardworking and you're always busy and you, oh, la, 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 la. I mean, I don't even start me on busyness, because busyness is another excuse. It's another way to feel important. It's another way for you to hide from the problems that you don't know how to solve. But I worked too hard, and it is 12 years later, 14 years later, and I have been struggling to get my adrenals to work again because I burned them out. And when your adrenals are burnt out, your thyroid is messed up. And when your thyroid's messed up, your hormones are messed up. And when your hormones are messed up, everything is messed up. So, no, there is no self-care if you're not in balance. Balance is the adult child syndrome, the inner healing that we have to do. Balance is the one thing that we don't have. There's no one thing that we do or don't do that's good or bad. It is the lack of balance that's our problem. And that's why black and white thinking is really our topic. Because when you've got black and white thinking, there's no balance, there's no negotiation. And that is hugely, it's first of all, it's hard to live with. It's hard to live with yourself. It's even harder for other people to live with you. That's what we've got to see. People, how do people live with somebody with black and white thinking? It's like a big question, this one.
And it's a hard habit to break, hey? Even when you've healed many other parts of the adult child, it's such an ingrained thing in us, that it's, sometimes I catch myself, now I often catch myself doing it, this kind of, but gray is just not my color,
Yeah, but then also
That's
it
sort of
depends on how to look at it. Because if you look at it as a negative, well, why the heck would you change it? If you look at it, if I'm not black and white, I've got to be grey. I call, for me, it's negotiation. It's black and white or negotiation. Negotiation is open. It's willing. It's curious. It is investigating. But it's open. When you are black and white thinking, you're leaving no space for what may happen or what if and what am I missing. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know if it's black and white thinking, because you automatically cut off everything. And so you lose out. I am not a fan of black and white thinking, besides the fact that I've lived with a black and white thinker most of my life, and I'm not black and white. I like the argument. I like the argument now. I like the discussion. So before the argument, of which I was pretty determined to be right, I have to add. but, but now I love the discussion and the negotiation and the willingness to invite somebody else in to get more opinion and the input from more than one person. And even when it comes to myself and the black and white thinking, I also now understand that I may be missing something if I don't get somebody else in, a doctor or a coach or somebody, an alternative medical provider, to give me their input, because I see from the inside and I see like this. And so that's where it's so great when you become free and open, because you can then get input and then you can always get a better solution.
That is beautiful. Well said.
And
That's
I
very
think,
beautiful.
I think it's a really valid thing to talk about. Okay, we're back again. Antoinette?
You keep on free. You just
Hello?
froze again. And again. Louise. Well, Louise, that's a lovely frozen picture of you. Okay, I'm not going solo again, guys. Bye. Hopefully we're going to reschedule this now. Sorry about all this.